can't believe I'm going to do this to myself again, but I am. I'm sitting there looking at the amount of space I've got versus what I want to do. Well, gentlemen, September is almost upon us, which, as a large portion of you know, that means I'm going to be taking on new work. I'm just now getting to where I can see my shelving unit again and my floor. But I've been telling everybody for about 6 months that I was going to do this. So here's the deal. This is how this is going to work. I cannot and I will not put myself in the position that I did 2 years ago. I still have quite a few projects that I need to finish coming to the end of this year. So what we're taking on in September is going to be my workload for the first part of 2023, which is next year. I'm going to probably take on a couple new builds, and I'm probably going to take on about 100 repairs. What happened 2 years ago was something that I never want to have to go through ever again. I simply said, okay, send whatever it is you have. And what happened was I got a mountain of stuff here. I got somewhere between 780 and 800 amplifiers that showed up 2 years ago. And it took me 2 years plus, and returning a few pieces of those equipment because people got tired of waiting, for me to work my way through that pile of stuff. And a couple of the things that happened from that was people, they'd call me up and they'd be vehemently mad. I mean, like, they were really worked up. And they'd be, well, you've had my stuff for a year and a half. Were you ever going to work on it? Yes. You got to remember, I come out here publicly and I'm very transparent about what I'm doing, what I'm working on, where I'm at. I didn't mind if people calling, hey, how far back is mine? Hey, how far along is this one? Hey, when are we going to get to this project? I don't mind that. But when people call me up and they'd try to guilt me and say, well, you've had my amp for a year and a half. I got one guy, his phrase was, so I did the repair on his amplifier, and I call him up to get paid, and he goes, well, I waited 2 years for you to repair it. You can wait a couple months to get paid. Even though when I talked to him on the phone, I said, are you ready to make the payments and whatnot? It was a learning curve, I'm not going to lie, and I'm not shy about what I've done. I've done a lot, repaired a lot. So we're going to do this next go around. We're going to do it in stages. I'm going to take some work coming up here in September, which is just a couple days away. It's like next Wednesday. Today is Friday, the day of the filming of this. I'm going to open the phone up and say, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to get out my phone, and at 9 o'clock my time, I'm going to start answering the phone. And you're going to tell me what you've got. That's what I'm looking for, is to know what you have and what you're wanting me to do. I have to say no to some of these things just simply because the parts are impossible to find. Like a lot of the sweep tube amplifiers, some of the parts that are in those amplifiers, like the transformers, some of that stuff, we can't find them anymore. That, and they're packaged, or they're not packaged, but they're made of basically slightly thicker metal than tinfoil. Now, it's an American metal, so therefore it's good because it was made in the 60s or the 70s, but the problem is when you go and get them packaged, the shipper has no clue what you're packaging or having packaged or what you're wanting to send, and they just get beat to ever loving death. The tubes usually show up if you ship them separately. They'll show up. Some of them will be broken usually. But the amp itself, which, remember, we can't find parts for, meters, knobs, switches. We can find close, but we can't find exactly the same. And the cabinet will just, the transformers, they're mounted on just like tinfoil. You gotta remember when that stuff was manufactured, that was back when people really cared about what they were doing and they took pride in what they were doing, unlike a lot of what I see happening today with the brown box kickers and the FU in the butt express delivery guys. Things were handled by hand and they weren't done by automated machines is another thing. And those amps, they just show up here and they're just destroyed. So I'm going to probably turn those down, unfortunately. You're going to have to find somebody local to do it, but I mean, there's certain situations where, let's say, it was my brother's uncle's nephew's cousins, and he was the one that, you know, breastfed me and suckled me at his womb and raised me up. I might take that project on. Or if it can be hand delivered, that's a different story. Okay, I might take that project on. Otherwise, no. Anyhow, when you call September 1, the main thing is that I'm going to give you an RO number, which stands for repair order. Okay, and I'm going to go 1 through probably about 100. I will maybe be taking, depending on what the builds are, be taking on a couple new build projects, maybe. But I still have quite a few of them that I need to complete. I've got a 24 pill, 2 32 pills, 2 6 pills, a couple 4 pills, a 1x2, and a couple others that I need to wrap up here in the next 3 months, 4 months. So depending on where I'm at with those, I will consider taking on a few small builds. You guys got to remember that my primary goal and function here is as a repair shop and kind of a YouTube personality. So when you call, I'm going to give you an RO number. That RO number is exclusive to you. Now what I need you guys to do on your end when you ship the amplifier to me is on the outside of the box, in big letters with a Sharpie, you're going to write RO number 1, RO number 2, RO number 3, RO number 4, RO number 5, RO number 6. And I'm going to do that for you and me, for our organization, so we can understand where we're at, how many builds or whatever projects are in front of you, and I can give you a number. The way I've done it up till now is we just fill up a shelf and I work through the shelf. And it was really frustrating for several people. So this is the system we're going to go with. It's really simple. You call me, I'm going to talk to you about your build, and then I'm going to say, okay, and I'm going to send you a private YouTube video explaining to you what you need to do next. It's going to be another video just like this with me and you talking, me talking to you. And it's going to have my shipping address, and I'm going to go over all the particulars of things that you need to know about before you ship me your piece of equipment. And then on the outside of the box and attached to a little piece of paper on the inside, I want name, address, phone number, and that RO number. That RO number is really important because things are going to be repaired in the order that they are sent. If I don't receive an RO number, it's just going to be left dead. So let's say if we're doing a YouTube video and I'm say, okay, I'm working on RO number 1, number 2 doesn't never send his amp, or I never got it or whatever, then we're going to go directly onto RO number 3. But I'm a little bit stressed out about this, taking into account I had stuff in here stacked to the ceiling. I couldn't get into my drill press, my sander, my lathe, part of my welder. Every time I needed to use one of those pieces of equipment, I'd had to shuffle 20, 30, or 100 amplifiers around to get to it. And I just don't want to work myself into that position again. So we're considering, and we will be taking on a few hundred, or like 100 projects here in like 4 days, 5 days. Well, today's Friday, 6 days. Just want to give you an update. I'm looking forward to moving on. I've been looking at the same pile of projects now for a long time, and it's getting really thin over there, but in the same breath, if my phone is any gauge of what's going on out there in the radio world is still very active, and people still very much want to get their equipment fixed. So I think we're going to be fine. I just wanted to give you guys an update. Gentlemen, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Believe me, more cool projects are going to come. Spoken word update, by the way. We're going to blow it up this next year. There is big plans on the horizon. I've had one main person and a couple others that have reached out and said, look, we recognize what you're doing, and we also understand that there's really no one else that can do it. I don't think that's true. I think if somebody else made it their mission and was legitimate about it, they could probably go do these interviews. But I am planning on doing several stops. I'm going to do it in multiple legs, and right now it's sounding like a 5-leg thing where I leave here, I travel to, let's say, New York, and in New York I'm going to grab the guys in Pennsylvania and the surrounding states and do a little bit of traveling there. Then come home, edit, and release those videos, and then make another stop. And maybe let's just say I'm just pulling a state out of my hat. Let's say like Georgia, the land of the big hitters. I mean, let's face it, Georgia, per person, per capita, per state, there's some big hitters in Georgia, and I'd love to sit down with them and just get their personal history. I mean, you guys know the system by now, and everybody on the radio that's in the CB side of things has watched it. I want to go and get the older guys first, because once their history is gone, it's gone, and I want to preserve it for the next and for the rest of us, right? One of the people that I really want to go get, and they've already agreed to it, and they said, just let me know when we're coming, is Peter Eggerman at Electronic Product Design. I cannot wait to meet him, Michelle, Tony, get a tour of their facility. They're the last of the Mohicans, as far as like you being able to call them and they'll make you something. That doesn't happen anymore. That, and they're an American-based, 100% American-made product. That also pretty hard to find. He just celebrated yesterday his 85th birthday. We're running out of time. I'm running out of time. There's a million things I want to do, and there's a whole lot of radio, and I'm just running out of time, and I feel the pressure. I had one gentleman call me the other day, and after I got done having a conversation with him, we are going to take this on with a fervor. The hardest part is stepping away from here, pulling myself out of here, but still being able to provide for myself and provide for my family. And I mean, this is something I want to do, but let's think about this for a minute. The logistics involved with that are a little different than throwing a bunch of stuff in my Suburban and going for a day drive to California, or a day and a half drive, you know. I think we got a plan. Well, gentlemen, I'll quit wasting all your time. If you followed up to this point, I want to say thank you. Believe me, we are going to do some more cool stuff, and I mean a lot more cool stuff. I've got some really big projects that are coming up. I can't talk about them yet, but they're pretty freaking cool. So I'll be taking on work September 1, and I'm going to give that a full day. That's all I'm going to do is sit on the phone and talk. I'm pretty sure by the time I get to the end of the day, the RO numbers will be full. I will be closed September 2nd, and I will not come back until the following Tuesday, which is like the 6th or the 7th. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 days. So yeah, I'll be back on the 6th. I got some other previously planned out engagements that I have to take care of, and when I get back, if the numbers aren't full, we'll have that conversation again. Gentlemen, I appreciate you all tuning in. We're on to the next big project, and believe me when I tell you, we got some big ones coming, and I mean big ones. I can't really talk about them, but they're coming. I'll see you, and I appreciate every single one of you. Click, click.